You should be able to tell, but I figured out how to get noise reduction in OBS itself, which means not only will the audio quality in my videos improve, because I couldn't get it to work in the editor because I'm using a free one and I'm not paying for the paid version of the free editor because I'm a broke boy. So there's that. That's probably the biggest problem. But also the streams. You won't be able to hear the fan in the background for the streams. This means for the stream clips that I make, I won't have to do as much trying to remove it and like going, oh, the audio's bad, removing it. But today I figured I have talked about Thing and I've talked about Torch. So I might as well finish the Fantastic Four, finish them off real quick with Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman all wrapped up into one special. Roll the new YouTube intro I made 5 minutes ago. So how would I change Mr. Fantastic? Right, well, the only thing that I would change about him is lean him harder into a tank role, because I understand he's a DPS, but he's meant to be a DPS tank hybrid. And as it stands, at least in my games, in my lobbies, he completely dominates. Like, just, not completely, sorry. He doesn't do enough DPS, and he doesn't do enough tanking. I was getting ahead of myself. I'm trying to think through what I'm going to say before I say it. He doesn't do enough DPS, but he doesn't tank enough, because he has a great self-sustain, but that doesn't really help him against dive. Now, does it? Because Iron Fist also has great self-sustain, so does Daredevil. I was going to say so does Black Panther, but he really doesn't. His only self-sustain is that he moves really fast. Anyways, so he's not really good at diving with his self-sustain. He can't protect his team with his self-sustain, because the only way to do that would be like body block with your big old body, and the only way you can get your self-sustain is by constantly doing damage and using your abilities. And if you just pumping your damage into the tanks, I already said he doesn't do that much damage, you're going to be wasting your damage. It's not going to be enough damage. So, like, he doesn't do either one either way. If you want to make him a tank hybrid, I think you lean him further into tank. Now, I've said this before, and even the things that I've said it before, like, I've thought about them as I've done it, because this isn't an original take from me. This is just, I think, the first time I've dedicated an entire video to it. But if you lean him harder into a tank with things like, oh, more health, more bonus health generation, give him a traditional shield, well, then he just dominates lower ranks more than he already does, because he's a lower rank monster. Any changes that are made should reflect how much skill you have to put in to maximize on those changes. So while I think, and I've always said this, give him 300 more health to his shift, the big refrigerator mode, and grab him and stretch him out. Because you're giving him more health to that, you're making it so that way it's better and should be used as team utility instead of just your own survivalness, because then he is more of a tank than just himself. And it shouldn't be like all the way out so he takes up all of lane, but maybe 2 of him wide instead of just 1. I don't know. I think that would incentivize him to protect his team, play with his team. Give him more damage to the middle of his arm than the end of his arm, because then it incentivizes you to stand on the front line, punch, and hit the front line with the middle, because then you're putting pressure on the tanks while also kind of hitting the back line. Because right now I think he does the same amount of damage with the whole arm, but that also provides skill expression, because if you're in a 1v1 and you're just hitting the front bit of your arm, you're not doing a lot of damage. You have to swing it and hit that middle part for your damage. That's skill expression. I think buffing his E and buffing his right click isn't skill expression. They should probably change his right click, because from what I've seen, it's really bad. I'm not a Mr. Fantastic main. So if there's any Mr. Fantastic mains watching my video for some reason, go ahead and correct me on anything that you think I'm wrong. Let me know what you would change, honestly, because it's your character. Obviously, I think because he needs some way to skill expression. Like, one of my original ideas, I never said it in a video because I thought people would flame me, but I don't really care. One of my original ideas was give him some way to refresh his big mode, so that way he is a tank more often than he's a not so good DPS. But then that takes away the skill expression of cycling your big mode, because you can just keep it up all the time. It takes away the skill expression in a way that in lower ranks you're just fighting the front line, you're constantly getting it. You're constantly getting that burst healing. Unless you do it so that way it doesn't give you the burst healing, it just stays in big mode longer, but then you're constantly doing as much damage as possible because you do more damage in big mode. So I really don't know. My only solid idea is increase the health and stretch him out a bit for his it's a personal shield. It's pretty much a mag bubble. That's how I treat it when I play against it, because the shot that he shoots out from it has never really ever done anything to me or my team in any rank that I've played in. Now, I've only played in ranks below GM1, because I hit GM2 every now and then. So I understand I'm not the best there is, and I don't play against the super good fantastic one tricks or not because they're not one tricks, but fantastic mains. So I don't ever play against them. But any of the ones that I see, they've never seen anything good come of that. So that's how I would do it. I would take the tank hybrid and say, if you don't do enough damage to be a... Because he doesn't do enough damage to compete with like Thor or any of the other off tanks, and he doesn't have enough sustain to compete with those off tanks, and he doesn't do enough damage to compete with the DPS, even though he has sustain to compete with them. I 100% say that. He's got disgusting sustain. It pisses me off sometimes. He just kind of doesn't die, but he never shares that with his team. There's been a lot of times where I'm playing against the Fantastic, and they're pretty good at the game, and they just don't die, and so I go, oh, you're not going to die. I know he doesn't do enough damage. We're playing like Invis Jeff. He's not killing any of my supports. And if my DPS are dying to him, then that might just be a skill issue, because you could just always run to the supports and the supports aren't dying to him. So we just ignored him, and he swapped off because he wasn't doing anything, because he got ignored, because he cannot share any of his sustain with his team. And I think that's his biggest problem. Am I a bit stupid? Probably. But hey, that's a conversation for the next time. Now, Invisible Woman. How would I change Invisible Woman? Honestly, revert her back to how she was before she got the shield change. That's pretty much it. Because that was before they extended the force physics and the damage of it. That's her push-pull. And then they recently went back on how far out it goes. I think they rolled that back, or maybe whatever. But that was before that. So I think that balances her out the most. Her push-pull has the longer cooldown. It has the shorter range. It has less damage because they buffed the damage recently. Her orbs don't go out as far because that was also after that change. Her self-shield, she doesn't have a self-shield, but her shield is as good as it used to be. The only thing I would do is maybe she has no self-shield, but add 50 health to the shield. Because that was the biggest form of skill expression for Invisible Woman. I don't care. I've played her. I have lored on Invisible Woman. I played her before she was meta and broken. When people said, if her ult was better, then she'd be good. That's when I played Invisible Woman. I haven't played her since because I don't find it very fun, especially now that she's meta and she has a self-shield and I don't have to think. The biggest part of her skill expression to me was, how do you position? Where and when do you use your shield? How do you avoid ultimates when you are planning to ult? Like, everything revolved around that shield is what I'm trying to say. If I wanted to self-heal, it's either leave combat, leave my team out to dry, run to my other support with my jump, and hope they notice and heal me, because that doesn't always happen in every rank. Or I get a teammate, put the shield on them, and stand by my own shield, but sometimes that requires me to be out in the open, or on an off angle, and positioning was very important for Invisible Woman. When I went and placed my ult and I heard Fear Magneto, or Punisher ult, my ult at that time did not heal enough to keep my team up if I wasn't also healing. So, how do I avoid the Punisher ult while staying in my ult so that way I don't instantly die without instantly dying to the Punisher? Because he can gun me down through that ult. And then, even after they increased the healing and increased all the util of the ultimate so it was on par with everyone else's, how do I avoid one-shots? Because you have to know how. You either rely on your team, or you get out of there as fast as possible and as far as possible. And there was a level of skill expression of that I miss. I miss having that skill expression there, and it's why I don't really touch her anymore. That's pretty much it. That's how I changed those two. Maybe I play the YouTube intro one more time to close it out because I think it's really funny. Well, that's gonna be about it for me. See ya.